They say a small space limits dreams. But what if that tiny patio just outside your door could become a canvas? A place where sunlight pools like warm honey. Where faded wood and forgotten treasures stitch together stories of memory, of hope, of beauty waiting to be noticed. A little corner of the world, not shaped by perfection, but by patience and heart. Here at Golden Seniors Living, we believe that gardens and life grow richer, deeper, and more meaningful with time. We believe that seasoned hands, moving a little slower perhaps, create spaces no less beautiful, but filled with more soul. Here, we don't chase trends or perfect lines. We honor the cracks, the faded colors, the quiet resilience of both gardens and gardeners. This is a place where imagination blooms freely, no matter the size of the soil beneath our feet. Today, I'm inviting you to take a gentle stroll with me. Together, we'll explore surprising rustic and vintage ideas, simple, heart-filled touches that can turn even the smallest patio or courtyard into a haven, a tiny retreat stitched from memories and morning light. And if these kinds of soul-soothing ideas speak to your spirit, I would be honored if you'd join our family by subscribing. Here, every new friend is a new seed planted, another blossom in a garden that grows not just outward, but inward too. Before we dive into these inspirations, I want to pause and say thank you. Every time you choose to spend a few minutes here, every view, every kind comment, every story you share, you aren't just supporting a channel. You're watering a dream. A dream built on real moments, real family, and real gratitude. It may seem like a small thing, but to us, it's everything. Idea 1, Vintage Ladder Plant Stand. Imagine this, a worn wooden ladder, leaning casually against the old garden wall. Its steps no longer carrying heavy feet, but instead cradling pots of lavender, rosemary, and cheerful, smiling daisies. Each step a shelf, each pot a little burst of life reaching toward the sky. Look closer, and you'll see the history etched into the wood. Faded paint clinging to the grain, scuffed edges softened by time, tiny old nails that once held who knows what now catching the light like tiny stars. It's a quiet celebration of age and resilience, not polished, not perfect, but proudly real. Maybe you have a ladder like this, forgotten in the corner of a garage, or maybe you'll stumble across one tucked behind a flea market stall, waiting for someone with a little vision. It doesn't take much to bring it back to life. A simple brush of clear sealant to protect the character it has earned, a handful of sturdy clay pots, and suddenly, you have a vertical garden blooming right before your eyes. Arrange herbs you can snip for dinner, trailing blooms that dance in the breeze, or even tiny succulents tucked into little wooden crates tied to the rungs. The beauty of a ladder garden is how little it asks of you, no bending, no heavy lifting, just a few pots arranged at a comfortable reach, like little shells of hope growing steadily upward. And when you sit back and see it standing there, dappled by the afternoon sun, you'll realize something simple but powerful. Like us, a little wear and tear doesn't make it less beautiful. It only adds to the story. Every scuff, every crack, every bloom is a quiet testament to the beauty that comes not in spite of time, but because of it. Idea 2, Rustic Mason Jar Lantern Wall. Picture a quiet evening settling over your small patio. The last golden threads of sunlight slip away behind the rooftops, and along your weathered garden fence, tiny lights begin to stir, not with a flash, but with a glow as soft as a sigh. Strung between the old wooden slats are faded mason jars, each one tied carefully with rough jute twine, each one cradling a sprinkle of fairy lights. The glass catches the dusk light, bending it gently, casting warm glimmers like little fireflies dancing across the patio floor. Some jars hang higher, some lower, not arranged with mathematical precision, but with the easy grace of a heart decorating its own home. You don't need an electrician. You don't need an engineering degree. You only need a handful of old jars, the ones tucked away on shelves, the ones found for pennies at a yard sale, a small string of solar-powered fairy lights, and an afternoon spent with a gentle breeze at your side. Tie the jars with soft twine, weave the lights through their mouths, and watch as something simple becomes something extraordinary. As the evening deepens, and the tiny lanterns begin to pulse with a life all their own, you will feel it, that quiet magic. A patio transformed not by expense or perfection, but by small moments gathered carefully, tenderly. And it's a lovely reminder, isn't it? In life, it's not always the biggest lights that shine the brightest. Sometimes, it's the smallest ones, the ones we string up with our own two hands, that warm our hearts the most. Idea 3. Upcycle drawer planters. Imagine walking into a cozy courtyard where, instead of neat rows or shiny containers, you find old wooden drawers, stacked like stepping stones, each one bursting with life. Creeping time spills over the edges like a living lace. Bright marigolds lift their faces to the sun, golden and sure. Each drawer tells a quiet story. The paint is chipped, the wood worn smooth in places where hands once pulled it open day after day. What once held socks or handkerchiefs now cradles roots and earth and the green push of new beginnings. Nothing polished, nothing perfect, just the beautiful imperfection of things given a second chance. And the lovely part is, you don't need a carpenter's hand to do this. If you've ever replaced an old dresser, or found one languishing on a curb or tucked in a dusty corner of a thrift shop, don't throw those drawers away. Sand them lightly to smooth any rough spots. Drill a few drainage holes in the bottom. Fill them with soft soil, tuck in a few seeds or starter plants, and you've created tiny raised beds, perfect for herbs, flowers, or even trailing vines. You can stack them a little crooked if you like, let the angles lean a bit. The charm is in the naturalness, the honesty. Add a few stones around the base, maybe an old watering can nearby, and suddenly, your patio corner feels less like a project and more like a poem. And maybe there's something deeper here too. Sometimes, things once emptied, drawers, spaces, even quiet corners of our hearts, can become vessels of abundance again, if we're just willing to see them differently. Idea 4. Weathered shutter backdrops. Tucked into the corner of a quiet patio, leaned casually against a sun-worn brick wall, stand a set of old shutters, pastel-painted and gently weathered by time. They don't stand straight and rigid, they lean a little, like old friends relaxing into easy conversation. The colors are soft and familiar, mint green brushed with years of sunlight, dusty rose fading to a tender blush, a quiet sky blue that seems to hum under the touch of the breeze. The paint is chipped here and there, edges softened, the grain of the wood peeking through like the wrinkles on a smiling face. These shutters don't demand attention, they simply offer a backdrop, a gentle frame around a cozy reading nook where an old chair and a folded quilt wait patiently for company. And the beauty of it is, you don't need a decorator's license to make this magic your own. A simple thrift store find, or a pair of shutters rescued from a renovation, a few cans of paint and shades that make your heart sigh, and an afternoon spent with a brush in one hand and a cup of tea cooling in the other. It doesn't need to be perfect. In fact, the beauty is in the uneven brushstrokes, the places where the old paint peeks through the new, whispering stories of summers long past. Prop them behind a favorite bench, tuck them near your herb pots, or let them soften a plain wall. Wherever they stand, they bring a little softness, a little story, a little soul to the space around them. And maybe that's the lesson hidden here. Not every wall is meant to shut the world out. Some walls, the best ones, are meant to open up memories instead, catching the sunlight, holding the breezes, and reminding us that even the simplest things can shelter beauty if we let them. Idea 5. Vintage crate garden table. In the heart of a small courtyard, where the herbs breathe softly and the flowers lean into the afternoon light, stands a simple table, low, sturdy, and quietly beautiful. It's not polished mahogany or gleaming marble. It's 2 old fruit crates, stacked with care, crowned with a weathered board, and dressed with the soft touch of linen and a hand-tied bouquet of wildflowers. The wood is rough to the eye but soft to the heart, grain lines running like rivers across its surface, tiny cracks that speak not of weakness but of years well lived. The bouquet rests like a memory across the table, daisies and sprigs of thyme tucked together with a loose bit of twine. A few candles flicker gently, their light pooling in the uneven surfaces of the wood, catching the threads of linen, turning simple moments into something sacred. And the loveliest thing? You don't need a carpenter's belt or a contractor's plan to make this your own. Just 2 sturdy crates, maybe found at a flea market, maybe rescued from a dusty corner, a few screws to steady them, and a small weatherproof board laid lovingly on top. No heavy lifting, no heavy spending, just a little heart, a little time, and the willingness to see beauty where others might see scraps. It's a table that doesn't shout for attention. It hums quietly, inviting you to set down a cup of coffee, a favorite book, a plate of fresh-picked strawberries. A table built not to impress, but to hold memories, laughter, soft mornings, and slow evenings. And maybe that's why the best gatherings don't happen around perfect tables polished to a shine. They happen around imperfect tables built by imperfect hands, hands that know the true measure of beauty isn't found in symmetry or shine, but in the love layered into every board, every corner, every gentle imperfection. Idea 6. Rustic Wall Pocket Garden. Along the fence, tucked into sunlit corners and shaded nooks, old galvanized watering cans and chipped enamel mugs hang like little pockets of life. They're not polished or pristine. The metal is dulled, the handle's a little bent, and the mugs carry the faint cracks of a life once lived full of mornings and coffee and stories shared across kitchen tables. And now, they bloom again. Ivy spills from their mouths in joyful rebellion, reaching and curling as if determined to taste the open sky. Clusters of mint push their way outward, releasing their sweet, fresh scent every time a breeze stirs. Tiny succulents cluster in worn watering cans, their fat leaves catching the sunlight, their roots clinging fiercely to life. It doesn't take complicated tools or hours of labor to create something like this. Just sturdy hooks, simple and strong, hung along a wall or a fence, and the willingness to let nature weave its way through the stories these old vessels still hold. No need for symmetry or straight lines. Let them hang high and low, clustered close together or spaced wide apart. Let them spill and stretch and lean, just as gardens and memories do. And when you stand back and see this wall, not tidy, not formal, but full of texture, full of breath, you'll be reminded of something quiet and true. Even broken things can bloom when given a little love. An old mug. A battered can. A forgotten corner. They don't need to be perfect to be beautiful. They just need to be seen, tended, and given the chance to grow again. Idea 7. Cozy Blanket Bench Corner. Tucked into a quiet corner of the patio, there's a simple wooden bench, not fancy, not new, layered with quilts that have seen 100 gentle mornings and a few tearful evenings too. Vintage fabrics, faded by sun and softened by time, are folded and draped with easy care. A stack of worn cushions leans into one corner, inviting you to sit a while, to stay longer than you planned. Around the bench, potted herbs gather close, like old friends. Rosemary, thyme, and mint, their scents rising sweet and familiar every time your hand brushes past. The light falls gently here, pooling around the bench like a soft sigh, and the cool evening air carries just enough chill to make the quilts feel like an embrace. Creating this kind of haven doesn't need a decorator's eye or a magazine budget. All you need is a favorite old throw, the one that's warmed your lap on countless winter nights, a simple sturdy bench, and plants that don't ask for perfection, only a little tending and a place to grow. Gather them close. Let the space feel a little wild, a little welcoming, like a nook stitched together from all your favorite moments. And as you sink into the cushions, wrapped in the comfort of familiar cloth and surrounded by the green hum of life, you will realize something that perhaps you've known all along. Home isn't a place. It's not walls or roofs or fences. Home is a feeling you build, one small kindness at a time, one careful layering of comfort and memory and breath. Idea 8. Soft pathways and low-light magic. Winding gently between pots heavy with lavender and terracotta planters spilling over with time, there's a simple path, nothing grand, nothing shouting for attention. Just a soft thread of gravel or a line of stepping stones, weaving like a quiet thought through the heart of the garden. Each step crunches lightly beneath your feet, a tender sound that speaks of calm afternoons and slow, lingering strolls. The edges of the path are loose, forgiving, plants lean in here and there, blurring the lines, as if nature herself couldn't resist joining the conversation. As dusk begins to rise, the magic deepens. Along the path, simple solar stake lights awaken one by one, no switch flipped, no fanfare, just a soft, steady glow, like the garden itself remembering to breathe. Their light isn't harsh or blinding. It's gentle, patient, illuminating just enough to show the way, leaving the rest to mystery and wonder. And truly, creating a space like this doesn't ask much. A bag or two of pea gravel, a handful of inexpensive stepping stones, a few small solar lights tucked lovingly into the soil. A path doesn't need to go far to feel like a journey. It only needs to invite your feet and your heart to wander a little. Because in the end, it's not the distance that matters. It's the beauty of the walk. The slow gathering of scents and sounds. The brushing of rosemary against your ankle. The pause to notice a star flickering into view. The feeling of being right where you're meant to be, even if it's only a few soft steps from your own back door. Before we part ways today, I want to gently remind you, these aren't blueprints. They're invitations. Seeds of possibility, offered with open hands. Let these ideas take root in your own space, in your own rhythm, and bloom into something uniquely yours, imperfect, beautiful, and entirely true. Because today, we didn't just decorate a patio. We stitched a little more magic into everyday life. We chose care over hurry. Story over perfection. Memory over measurement. We crafted not just spaces, but feelings, places where hearts can rest, where laughter can linger, and where time can slow down long enough to let us savor the sweetness of simply being. And now, I would love to hear from you. Which idea today touched your heart? Was it the mason jars glowing like fireflies, or the soft whisper of a gravel path underfoot? Tell me in the comments below. Every story you share is another thread in the beautiful tapestry we are weaving together here. And if this little corner of creativity and calm felt like home to you today, I hope you'll consider joining our Golden Seniors Living family. Here, you're not just a viewer, you're part of a growing garden of kindness, creativity, and connection.